So Congress has 5 main functions according to the Constitution, and these are the powers of Congress. And I'd like to go through those and explain some of those, where we are, where we've been, and what they actually mean. So number 1 in the Constitution, Congress has the power to levy taxes. And these begin in the House. They must start in the House of Representatives, and then they must be agreed to by the Senate. And if they agree to that, it becomes a tax for our country. So of all the bodies that exist in government, our founding fathers wanted the legislative branch, the Congress, that is directly elected by the people, to be the ones that put taxes on them. Remember, our founding fathers were very much against taxes and understood that taxes could be used as a weapon to, impoverish people, to steal from them, because they give their life to work for this money, and then if you take it away, you're basically taking part of their life away. So that's how our founding fathers saw this, and so they wanted taxes to only exist when the people were very approving of it. And the people elected the House of Representatives every 2 years directly, and so they're the ones that have to start any taxes. And then it goes to the Senate for approval or not. Okay? So the power of taxation was very thought about by our founding fathers, and they wanted taxes to, they recognized that it needed to happen, but it's going to reside with the House of Representatives, the most responsive branch to the people. All right? So Congress has excelled at taxation over the years, and we have a vast array of taxes that exist in the world, many of which you don't even know, but unless you maybe go look at your phone bill sometime, or your cable bill, or your fuel bill, what you pay at the pump. A lot of that isn't gasoline, it's for taxes, okay? So there's a lot of taxation out there. Borrowing money. So our country can go into debt. Our founding fathers really wanted to discourage this. They didn't like it at all, but it is possible for Congress to borrow money. So they can do this, and we have done this at a tremendous rate. In nominal terms, we are the most in-debt country in the history of the world. Okay? So we are currently, we were $23 trillion in debt in June when we got out of school. We then spent an extra $5 trillion this summer just dealing with COVID and handing out money to different groups, as help, like stimulus packages, they called it, to get the economy going when really nothing was going. So what does that bring us to? $28 trillion? It's a lot of borrowed money, okay? But Congress has the power to do that. So a lot of people like to say, oh, the president did this. Oh, the president ran up our bills. No. Presidents cannot issue themselves taxes, and they cannot borrow money. That is up to Congress. Congress either puts those things out there or does not. So if you're thinking we have too much debt, that's a congressional issue. That's not a presidential issue. All right. Regulate commerce. Now this is interesting because what it really just means is make laws. So our founding fathers were pretty steeped in economics, and they believe that every law is basically a regulation. So anytime you pass some regulation to say can't do this, can't do that, must do this, must do that, that's basically regulating commerce. So they thought that every regulation you pass is some sort of economic decision, okay? And so they put it as regulating commerce, but really what that means is making laws. So if you decide to build an interstate highway system, as the House or the Senate has decided, that's going to take a lot of money out of people's pockets. That's taxation. They might borrow for it. But by putting those roadways out there, you can then write all kinds of roads all kinds of rules like speed limits. Where are you going to put guardrails? How are you going to build bridges? How many lanes go in these highways? All those things will affect commerce. And so that's how they saw every law that's made is really an economic regulation. That's what they envisioned it as. So you might want to think of it in those terms, that every time Congress does something, they're changing the economics of your country in some way, shape, or form. All right. The fourth thing they can do is to coin money. So this is specifically listed in the Constitution. Gold and silver shall be the money, and it will be decided at what rates and how much is to be coined or minted, made into little coins. That's Congress's job. As we find out, Congress has abdicated a lot of their responsibilities, and as I've told you before, there are parts of our Constitution that we are not following. So we have gone away from gold and silver as our money or coinage, and we have adopted these pieces of paper as money. And they're not backed up by any gold or silver. In 1971, the United States went off the gold standard, and so what is backing up our money is your belief that it's actually worth something. It's just faith. Okay? That's it. There's no gold or silver backing up any of your dollars. Because you believe that it's worth money and someone else believes that it is, you exchange these things and we call it money. But it's not, according to the Constitution. So Congress has abdicated their responsibility in that way. They have also abdicated it in the sense of printing money. Because in 1913 we passed the central bank called the Federal Reserve in America, and ever since 1913 we've had them be our money coiners and not our actual elected officials. So we basically turned our economy over to the banking system and said, here, do good things with this for us, I hope. Okay? So your elected officials have really abdicated their responsibilities when it comes to coining money or dealing with money at all. The fifth and last one is to declare war, and this is vested in the hands of Congress. However, as we'll see more in chapter 13 when we take a look at the presidency, this is another area where Congress has really just abdicated their constitutional responsibility. They're the ones that are supposed to declare war. Presidents are not allowed to declare war in the Constitution. But we have sort of ignored that part of it, and we have allowed our presidents to take us to war. It's supposed to be our Congress. Okay? So we'll talk more about that in chapter 13, but this is another area where Congress really has not declared many wars, yet we've used our troops in many locations. All right? So this is just the 5 powers of Congress and some of the details that go with that.